Get ready for truth and common sense. Join the Framers View on rumble.com to be part of the chat. Be sure to click join and follow to help keep the Framer on the air. Watch the replay on theframersview.com or rumble.com.
Take all of us to be able to do this. Welcome to the Framers View. Thanks for jumping in. Today, it is a beautiful day because it's a Friday day, but today is Friday and Fright Day because of some of the things that are going on. Thanks for being here. Hey, look down below your screen if you're on Rumble. Click on the like, click on the subscribe. Really need to have you join and follow us. We're growing slowly but surely. Whole goal is to be able to keep sharing information with you guys. So there's just a ton to cover, and the ton to cover. And I apologize for clearing my throat all the time. Spring kills me. I don't know if you're like me, but as soon as spring hits, man, it's full bore, just blech, sand in my eyes and everything. It's terrible, but we'll get through it just like we get through everything. So today we've got so many different things, but one of the big things is judges breaking ethics rules and Catholics making a move. By the way, this is a big deal, but Catholics are making a move. We'll talk about that. Congressman is in trouble, but he isn't in trouble because he's got gold bars. This time it's a little different story. There's job offers and healthcare stuff we're going to talk about. And just one lone journalist that's willing to tell the truth and say what's really happening. But first, here come the judge. Folks, if we are honest with ourselves and we really look at what's happening, I spent my life in the sales world and running businesses. And what you do when you do that is you find out there's a lot of times that there's way more to the story than you think. And you know this, but we need to talk about this a little bit because I grew up in a world where we believed in our politicians. I grew up in the Kennedy days and a little bit of the Eisenhower. Yeah, I'm that old. And we trusted them and we trusted the news and we trusted, Walter Cronkite and, Brinkley and whatever his name was, that they were telling us the truth on ABC, NBC, and CBS, because that's all you got. There were a few other UHF channels. There was the local TV that you could get, but it was Channel 7 and Channel 21 and Channel 33 where I was, and a lot of parts of the country was the same thing. But you had the big antenna on the roof, and that antenna was bringing in the truth. And I was a young punk. Now I'm just an old punk. But, my parents believed what was being told, and most people did. And we always talked about, I remember when neighbors got together and we're talking about what was happening, not necessarily politics, but just what was happening. It wasn't quite as caustic as it is now. But we went through this process of discussing what was going on, and everybody was kind of on the same page because everybody heard the same thing. There was nothing new. What ABC, CBS, and NBC said was pretty much what everybody said, and it was all the truth. So as time has gone on, we started to realize, okay, really, when you get right down to it, Kennedy still kind of, floated through this because it was Camelot. What could possibly be bad about John Kennedy? JFK was the hero. It was a special time because they were lauded, much like the English political, I say political, but the king, queen, that they were loved. And truth started to come out and that changed. And not bad truth necessarily, but truth and things that you didn't expect to hear and people that had problems that nobody was talking about. And all of those things that occur and happen are really part of this growth that's occurred. So truth became more real when a number of years ago, back literally in the late 80s, early 90s, when we started to have more truth come out because, well, the first one was the CNN Turner broadcast of the whole trial with O.J. Simpson. And there were things being said and things were done, and it was cable. And that was kind of like a new network that you could get. We finally were realizing there was something different. There was something different going on that we weren't really sure what it was. Well, I kind of think we were kind of sure, but it was just a little bit of news. And then it really started to open up. When we were attacked on 9/11, which is 2001, and so many years past what I'm talking about. This was a case of these people coming in, talking to us on TV, and telling us about the attack on the towers and who was involved, and the mass weapons that were moved, or they were there, or they weren't there at all. And Dick Cheney was pushing that. And George W., he was kind of a useful idiot on the Republican side when you get right down to it. I mean, he believed Cheney. Cheney, bad news, just like his daughter Liz, bad news. Republican side, that's a bad news that they were on that. But it was kind of scary. And at the beginning, we were believing Cheney. But then you start seeing things, you're going, well, wait a minute, what's happening? And we've never really gotten the truth on that. So getting to what it is today, we have the Trump cases, right? The Trump cases. And how do I describe this? This is the example of how the Trump cases can get completely out of control. And then we take a look at what's really happening. So you get a Letitia James case where she's saying that fraud and misuse of documents and lying on tax forms and blah, blah, blah. And she said he got these loans, he being Trump, got these loans just because he claimed his properties were worth more than he claimed. I'm not going to run through this whole thing. They said $18 million for his Mar-a-Lago home property, which is just a complete joke. If it's not worth hundreds of millions, it's definitely worth probably $50 to $75 million, plus all of his buildings in New York. So he got offers for loans. He got those loans. He paid them back, but she took him to jail. Not took him to jail, but took him to court. Now we have another case. We have this insane case that's going on right now where Trump's in the courtroom, and they're talking about hush money. Okay, if you've had a job, I don't know how many viewers we've got now, but if you've had a job where you were working in any kind of a business, especially software, if you're doing consulting work for any company, you sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement. And that NDA is used for many different purposes in business and in life. An NDA sometimes are used to shut people up with information you don't want them to get out. Trump may be guilty of the Stormy Daniels thing. I don't know. Knowing him, he probably is. But that doesn't have anything to do with this, because all of the Hollywood people that have had NDAs to quiet people, and then the $77 million that has been spent by politicians for NDAs to shut people up. Oh, you didn't know that? Yeah. So all of these things have occurred forever, and there's no law against it. They've done something they shouldn't have done, and so they get an NDA to quiet people from talking. And then they can't break that NDA unless a judge forces that release. And usually that's done behind closed doors and they decide how that's going to be used. But in this case, you've got this insane case with Bragg that he's taken down this road and COVID, it's not COVID. It's Michael, I can't remember the guy's name. I just can't. The lawyer for Trump. This guy is a snake. If he were dead and you skinned him, you could make boots out of him. That's how much of a snake he is. He has done and said things that's amazing. I'm not going to take you through all of that. I'm going to take you one step above it. And that one step above is the judge. He'll come to judge. And the judge, his job is to be, the one that decides what's right and wrong in the case. And so that it's a protected case that when a final decision is made, when they want to fight this, when the defensive side wants to fight it, they haven't got anything to argue about. Well, we already have one. And that is Marchin, who's the judge, has a daughter that is a Democrat operative that raises money for a number of different Democratic organizations. So this story came out. Dem clients of daughter of New York judge in Trump hush money trial raised $93 million off the case. March 30th, 2024. Now, you could look at these two. Oh, there's, here he is. He's so proud of his daughter. His daughter, look, my dad's a judge, and they're raising money off of the case that the dad judge is overseeing for Trump. There can be no interference or influence against a judge that's trying a case against someone. Can't do that. I mean, the ethics there says you have to step back. You have to back up. You cannot do that. So if you can't do it and you don't recuse yourself, that's already an appeal. You couldn't even get a fair trial. Well, fair trial and what's going on? So there's one person that has a gag order on him. That's Trump. Not Michael Cohen. His name came to me. Not Michael Cohen. Not any of the witnesses, other witnesses. They can all talk. They can be on TikTok. They can be on whatever program they want to. They can laud everything that they've done, what they do, what their story is. They can influence the election and influence the trial by doing this during the case. But there's no gag order on them. Remember yesterday when I was talking about when somebody doesn't want to say, no, that what you've said about me is not true, and here's why, and here's the evidence of that. The same case when somebody says, you're getting a gag order, and that gag order is going to say that that you cannot talk about the case and talk about this and that and that and this. But it's only on one person, and it's the defendant, which is the one that should have the biggest opportunity to defend themselves. So what do we have here? Well, we've got a guy that can't talk about his case, that's got a judge that's got his daughter right here, that's making $93 million off the case, that's going to go to people that are running against Republicans in local events and national events, not events, but elections and national elections. But he's not recusing himself, and this is occurring, and it really should not be occurring. I think you'd agree with that. I mean, if we're going to continue to do that and have this kind of a situation going on, then you have to ask yourself, well, if he's not recusing himself, why is that? Okay, let's think about this again. If he's not recusing himself, we know the guy hates Trump. So he wants to put him in jail. which I don't think is going to happen. He may be found guilty, but it'll go to appeal, and I think it'll be returned back as not guilty. But they'll still be able to say he was found guilty. Point is that now you've got a guy that is overseeing a case, and he's going to make judgments and decisions based on the defense and the offense of this trial, prosecution and defense, that's going to say, he's going to say you can do this or you can't do that against Trump because he hates him. And look, I don't find fault in the fact that he's influenced by that. I find fault that he doesn't recuse himself and not do it and let the case go on as it should, not as he wants it to. And that's what's happening here. It is not going to be something that you can continually do. Sorry, phone call came in. You can't do this. And he's doing it anyway. So there'll be an appeal, and probably it'll get blown out of the water. I mean, there's nothing here. It's an NDA. He paid somebody to shut up that he probably shouldn't have been with. You know, it's kind of like Bill Clinton. It's really the same thing. And neither one of these guys, you know, have ever had guardrails. They've gotten away with stuff. Okay, but I do care about what he says and what he does, Trump, just like I cared about what Clinton said and did. But what are his actions as president? That's what you have to ask yourself. And interestingly, Bill Clinton went to the center when he was rerunning for office for the second term, and he won. And Joe Biden is pressing on with insanity. So all of that's going on, and everybody is seeing this happen. Everybody knows what's going on with this. And what did Trump do as president? That's the question. I talked a few shows ago about this is the first time in our lifehood, all of us, that we've ever had an opportunity to have a former president and a president running for office at the same time. We know what both of them do. We know what Trump did, what he did for unemployment, what he did for taxes, what he did for gas prices, inflation, 1.5% inflation, as opposed to God knows where we really are right now. You can look at numbers all over the board on that. And that is going to keep going and keep going. And then with Trump, and then you've got Biden, who's just destroying everything. Unemployment rate raised today, the number. The job rate went far down. I think the expectation was 235,000 new jobs. It ended up at 175,000. That's not good. Inflation's up. The mortgage rates are up. People want to be able to buy a home, and then they get a disclosure on how much their payment's going to be, or it's discussed with a mortgage person, and they're like, how can a house payment on this house be $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month? I mean, I live in Colorado. It's not California, but it's close. And the prices of these homes is so high. And somebody that was paying $3,000 a month on a home that's a nice home in Colorado today is paying probably $5,500 to $6,000. That's insane. We're at 7.5%. We were at 2.8% at the end of Trump's office. 5%? Are you kidding me? A 5% increase? And he says that the economy is good and inflation's down? It's not. He's lying to us. So with all of that happening, what occurs? Well, people are influenced by what they go through, okay? People are influenced by what their experience is. And one of those experiences is a group of people that don't like Trump because Trump is not a good Christian in their minds. And so they push away from him. And that's the Catholics. And now, guess what? The Catholic support swings for Trump over Biden by significant margin polls. Now, this is just another example of the things that Trump is doing is affecting what's happening with the election. The poll found that 55% of Catholics support or lean towards supporting former President Donald Trump in a head-to-head against Biden. 55%. Catholics were not. That was the same as women, suburban women, not going for Trump back in the 2020 election, and didn't really a lot in 2016. But it definitely got affected by the way election ran and everything, how it occurred. But my point is that you've got Catholics now that are moving towards Biden. You've got blacks that are moving towards Biden. You've got a lot of different races that used to be supporting the Trump group, the Biden group, and they're not. They're going for Trump. And the reason they're going for Trump is pretty obvious, really, when you get down to it. It's obvious in the fact that they don't trust Biden, first of all. Secondly, the things that he's done is making a huge difference. And those kind of things, like he's already claimed that when he gets reelected, if he gets reelected, Biden's going to raise the taxes. He's going to get rid of the tax cuts that Trump put in. People are going to pay more money. Do you want that? With everything that's going on with the wars, the lack of control, the lack of Biden getting in front of a camera and saying, hey, this thing that's going on in the colleges has to stop. Just say that. Say anti-Semitism is not right. Don't support all these other people. Right now, we're talking about Jews in America in U.S. schools that are being threatened big time. The things that happened in Hamilton Hall at Columbia, when you see what the police went through, is stunning. Any other day, any other time, district attorneys would throw these people in jail and throw away the key. Not anymore. Nobody cares about anything about this when it comes to the big cities, the big blue states and cities. Now, I will give Adams credit, the mayor of New York City. He's starting to step up to this and recognizing we can't have this anymore. We have to stop this. Now, how far can he go with it? And what are they going to do with it? All these guys that were arrested, guys and gals that were arrested at Hamilton Hall at Columbia, are already out of jail. I don't know what's going to happen. I know that if we keep letting these things occur, it's not going to stop. I've always said this. If you're weak, they're going to take you over. So what is that weak that we need to talk about? So you had the gold bars congressman, and he's got his problems, Menendez. Now we've got a problem right now. These people are getting away with things that just shouldn't be happening. You've got a foreign country that he's deep inside with, and everybody was just gushing over him over the Biden, the Trump case for January 6th. January 6th was a big deal for him. You know, of course, he wants to get rid of Trump. So he goes on that. Now, all of a sudden, he's about to get indicted for something very worse, but much worse, and that's being involved with a foreign government. God, when does this happen? So I take this to a point of talking about people and telling the truth and people doing stupid things and the kids and I say kids because they are, even if they're in their 20s, that are in college, and the non-kids college students that are in these cases that's going on with the protests and we are Hamas. And they really don't realize what that's going to do to their reputation. Look, if you did something stupid when I was a kid, back in the 70s, if you did something stupid, even if you got, you know, you went to jail for 10 days for something. It's really hard to find something that happened about that when I was a kid. They didn't have a way to be able to look at somebody's reputation, see what happened, what they did as a protester, how they ended up in jail. That doesn't happen. What they say on Facebook, on X, on TikTok, and all of those things, those are there permanently now. So these kids are going to be really struggling to get a job because, if I have a job opening back in my day with the business that I was in, the first thing we would do, even back when, and this is years ago when I was running a big software company, we did go to Facebook. Facebook was relatively new. You had, I can't even remember the name of there was another source out there. God, what was that called? It doesn't matter. We'd go there and we'd see what their postings were and what they did and who they talked to and what they said. And do you think I was influenced by that? Hell yes. And why? Because I don't need that. I've got a good, coherent group of people that work as a team, that work together. And when there's a problem, it gets resolved and we move on. I don't need some wacko protester that's going to cause problems. And that's going to be something that's going to carry out, especially for lawyers, unless you've got, a group of lawyers that want that kind of person. But there's not that many of them. Good lawyers aren't going to hire people that are going to law school at Columbia when they know what these people have done. What happens when they decide they don't like this law firm? They're not just going to go to another law firm. They're going to start a protest. They're going to do a lawsuit. You don't need that. Who wants that? So then you have an idiot that owns a big company that decides that he's going to basically say, hey, come to my place because I'm an idiot and I want more idiots in my company. And that's great, but it's just stupid. So hire these people, but the guy from HIMSS, hey, bring him on. And you know what? I want him to do that. And I want to see what happens a year from now with those people he's hired. Because I can assure you that whatever he does, because he has to run a business, he has to keep his business going. He has to survive. So he has to do smart things. And these aren't smart people that are doing these protests. Not necessarily because they aren't doing well in school. I'm talking about they don't even know what Hamas is. They should go to Gaza and live under the Hamas regime, and especially our colored flag folks the gays and lesbians, the transgenders, they should go there and see how that works out. Or go to Iran, see how that works out. They don't even understand that. So if they don't understand it, you can say, well, you just have to educate them. Well, you can't educate them because guess what? They won't even talk to you. They only know what they know, and they're obnoxious about it, and they're going to push that garbage as long as they can. So how do you stop this? Well, first of all, you do the thing that happens with everybody. Monday, I'm going to talk a little bit more about who I am. And no, I didn't get in big trouble in my life. I did some stupid stuff, and I did some things that, yeah, the police would probably like to have known about. We all do. We all pull stupid stuff. We all do stupid things when we're kids. We all push the edge. But I would have never done this. Never. So that's going down to the student. But we've got the people that are coming across the border that are supporting these students when they come out. Because as I said yesterday, the terrorist cells and the protest cells and the George Soros groups that are getting paid a full-time job basically to go from protest to protest, all of those things are going on. And so we have to take all of the assistance away from these people that are coming in illegally. It boggles my mind when I think about the fact that people can come into this country illegally and get all kinds of benefits. How can that be? Why would your tax dollars and mine go to people who aren't even here legally? Why? It doesn't make any sense. They need to go back where they came from, come through the correct channels, become a U.S. citizen. They don't even have to become a U.S. citizen to get the benefits. They can get a green card. They can apply for citizenship. You can't, I don't know if you know this, you can't just apply for citizenship the day you come into the United States. There's a process. And I would agree that it's a little difficult, probably too difficult, to become a U.S. citizen. We should have a reform on that and make it a little easier. But there's still things that have to be done to be able to make it work. So now let's make it a little bit easier and a little bit better and have a little more tax money. You can't make this crap up. It's so Obamacare now is going to be offered, and they didn't make it clear. And I tried to find information. This is brand new. I couldn't find the information, so I'm not going to say this for sure. But I'm going to guess they get Obamacare for free, which is a step above just walking into an emergency room. But when they just walked into an emergency room, the hospitals had to give them care, and that care had to be taken care of gratis, free gratis, because there's no insurance for it. So they kind of had to, not kind of, they had to suck it up. And so all of that money, all of that expense is causing everything to be more expensive at hospitals, which means we have to pay for it, which, by the way, then the insurance companies have to fight with the hospitals and the doctors because of the cost of things, but they know what's going on. But there's no problem with this, is there? This is exhausting when you really get down to it. I mean, now you've got a place of a hospital that's now going to have Obamacare for illegal aliens. Illegal. If you don't like the word, go away from my show. If you can't stand it, go away from my show. I am not going to give them the credit of being just newcomers. They're not just newcomers. They're people coming across illegally. But they're going to use our hospitals and our doctors with Obamacare, because I think at that point, again, we don't know this yet. I got to read the bill. This just came up literally just before I came on the air. What this could mean is that they can go to doctors and use Obamacare at a doctor's office. And if they get it for free, Obamacare, what about all the people that are paying for Obamacare right now? That's kind of like if you don't fit into the little box of people that don't have to pay their college tuition anymore. They don't have to pay their loans. And you don't get that. How right is that? And it isn't, by the way, just in case you wondered. So they're going to allow this? They're going to allow patients to go into doctor's offices and use Obamacare? And they'll have a little card that says, I'm an Obamacare approved patient? No, you can't have that. So the reason this isn't a big deal out there in the atmosphere is because people don't know it's happening unless you're watching or reading the right press. Because NBC, ABC, and CBS will spend 2 minutes on this, maybe, and it'll be blown off, and they'll have some excuse for it. Very few people will say it isn't right. And the only people who will know it will be the people that, watch a Glenn Beck, or they watch a Dan Bongino, or you watch Fox News or Newsmax or whatever. But if you're watching MSNBC and CBS, MSNBC and CNN, you're probably not even going to really hear about it until it happens 2 days before the election for 2024. Is that right? No, it's not right. But there's one guy out there that has decided that he's going to go ahead and tell the truth, at least a little bit of it. And I'm going to show you a video here, and I want you to watch the reaction of the news person on this. So this is the co-founder of Politico, and it's again really fascinating to see what he says and tells the truth. So watch this.
I'm kind of saddened by it, the fact that so many people don't trust what we do. Like, the book is very much about what did I learn in trying to start Politico, start Axios in this crazy digital environment. And you have a lot of forces out there that have tried to diminish the work that we do. And quite frankly, I think there's things that people in the media have done to diminish some of the work that we do. But I always tell people, you better step back and be careful with what you're playing with here, because you're playing with fire. And so I think on the consumer end, people have to figure out a couple of news sources that they trust, that they think on a regular basis are getting the closest approximation of the truth. And I think us in the media, we have to be a little more humble, and we have to realize our job is to be clinical in delivering the information, try to get to the closest approximation of the truth. If we screw it up, be humble enough to admit it, and maybe get off Twitter and maybe stop popping off in ways that make people distrust the work that you do.
So 32% of America trust the press. That's really sad. And it's sad in more than one way. And here's what I mean by that. If we're going to always have this fight, this argument between truth and shading of the information, that's what I'm going to call it for right now. If you're going to have that, and it's going to continue, the people that don't watch the right network isn't going to know. Think about that. If you don't happen to be watching the right TV show or the reading the right news, the correct news, you're not going to know what's going on. Politico, not a huge Republican conservative group, is saying, hey, guys, this ain't going to work out. This is going to blow up in our face big time. And it's about to blow up because January 6th is going to blow up. These cases against Trump are going to blow up. And everybody's that's going to be out there in the atmosphere of the news. And people are going to hear about those things eventually. And they're going to go, why didn't I know about this? I mentioned a couple of weeks ago on the show when we finally got Fox News on cable. And we were watching it. And I'm looking at Marie, my wife, and I'm looking and I'm saying, what did he just say? What's going on? This is before there was the internet, basically. It was back in the 80s, early 90s, probably. And you think to yourself, what in the hell is going on? So you can't go and Google it because there wasn't a Google, there wasn't a Yahoo, there wasn't an AOL, there wasn't an internet. And it was just getting started at that point because, of course, Al Gore was creating the internet and it just wasn't out there yet. Sorry, I can't resist that. If you don't know about that, just Google it and you'll find out. But it's the lies, the deceit, the anger of anybody on the dim side, the CNNs, the MSNBCs. When somebody points out the truth, it'll be either like that gal that was listening to him that's just staring at him like, what are you talking about? And I would probably believe there's a lot of people on MSNBC that know nothing other than what they're talking. Nothing. They've never questioned a thing. There's two stories out there right now that I am not going to talk about because I haven't had a chance to really look at it and find out what's going on. I do know that there's a bill that's about to be passed by Biden for Obamacare. I know that's going on. So what's the bottom line of this on a Friday afternoon on the 3rd of May? What's the bottom line? The bottom line is that everything's more expensive. Our taxes are more, our food, our needs, our clothing, everything we want to do. Maria and I went to a movie. We never go to movies anymore. And we went to a movie. I can't remember which one it was. I got a popcorn. It was just one of I think it was medium popcorn. Maybe it was a small, actually. We got one Diet Coke, and Marie got a box of candy, plus the movie tickets. It was $60. $60. Now, I don't care how much money you've got. I want to assume you've got tens of millions of dollars. You still have to look at that and say, $60 to see a movie? And you might have noticed that Netflix and Prime and those are not getting the new movies as quickly as they were because the Hollywood folks have to protect themselves. So they're not releasing it. You have to go to the theaters to see certain movies. The problem they have with that is Netflix and Prime and these other networks, Fox Nation, they're doing their own shows and they're producing their own films and they're really good, which is also going to hurt Hollywood. So now you go to a grocery store and you buy a few things that's just barely covering the bottom of your grocery cart, and it's 20, 30, 40, $50. If you buy meat, save God what it's going to be. And so everything is going down and it's becoming more difficult for people, and the inflation just keeps going up, and nobody wants to talk about that right now. We can't talk about inflation, but it's still up there. It's crazy. And businesses are hurting. Now, I've said this many times. I've got a mortgage business. It's almost non-existent at this point because of what's going on, because of the mortgage rates, because people can't afford the house. They can't afford the mortgage. Only people that have to are buying. I feel sorry for the people that have to. But I know a lot of realtors They're saying, man, there's nothing going on. I know motorcycle dealers because I love that world, and they're not getting what they call door swings. People aren't coming in. They can't afford to buy anything. And so businesses are slowly going out of business. So today, and this is kind of the capper of what's going on. Today, there was an announcement. I don't know this company. I hate malls. I prefer to go to local stores, I'm just not a mall guy. It's not my idea, a good idea of going into a big door and having 100 stores, 200 stores, 300 stores that I walk by and I don't even pay attention to them because I'm just trying to get to the one I want to go to. That's really what the mall is for me. But today they announced, they being Rue 21, I don't even really know what their clothing, I know. A mall staple files for bankruptcy and will close all of its stores. Rue 21, a mall staple for teen apparel, is going out of business and closing all 540 of its stores within the coming weeks. Now, by the way, 540 stores, let's do the math for a second if you want to. Let's say that they've got a total of 20 full and part-time people. That means it's 20 full-time people and part-time people in each store times 540. That would be 10, 11, 12,000 people that are going to be out of work. Think about that. So this is really bad news. The Pittsburgh-based company filed for bankruptcy Thursday for a third time in its existence, signaling the end of nearly 50 years in business for the retailer, which had 1,200 locations at its peak just a few years ago. So the interim CEO, Michelle Pascoe, said that Rue's 21 bankruptcy was caused by underperforming retail locations, the malls, increased industry competition, and the uptick in online shopping. You can get anything you want on the online, inflation, and macroeconomic headwinds and challenges raising capital. Let's break that down for a second. Let's unpack it. I kind of hate that phrase. So first of all, uptick in online shopping. Basically, you go to Amazon or you go to one of the big stores, you go to Walmart.com, you go to Home Depot, you go to whatever, you can get what you want. If it's clothing, my God, everything's online. Probably Rue 21 has something online. So nobody's walking in. If you go to the malls, the parking lots are, 2/3 empty. Didn't used to be that way. You go back 30 years ago, that was like a big deal to go to a mall. You had the Mall of America up in Minnesota. Massive. I've been to that mall. That was impressive. There was a mall here, massive mall. It's gone. Just gone. A lot of those are gone. And this occurs all the time, guys. So in the long run, we're going to have a time that we're going to be looking at here for the next, I'm going to say 5 to 10 years, where the people that are working in stores have to worry about whether they're going to have a job, especially if they're in a mall, because nobody's going into a mall. Everybody's working remotely. Everybody's working for companies that are online. The companies that are online, I've got a good friend here in my neighborhood. I'm going to guess he's in late 30s, early 40s. He's had a couple of jobs since he's lived here, none of which are in this city. He doesn't ever go to their office, maybe for a national meeting type of thing, but they don't really have any involvement or influence on the experience of working within an environment of an employer. And so these things are going to keep happening, and these stores are going to keep getting hurt because of the online. I'm not sure what they can do to beat that, because it is kind of nice to be able to go online, click, 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 find what you want, order it, and within a day or two, it's there if you're with Amazon, if you're on Amazon. That's nice. If you've got other stores, if you've got clothing stores, you go to other things, You can get the things you want. You can return them without cost. They'll send you a label. That makes it really difficult for the stores. And then the other part of it is you go to the store to try something on to see if it fits, and then they go online and they buy it, which they still sell it. But you'd like to think that they would buy it at the store. But a lot of times they're looking at, let's say, a pair of shoes, and they find the place that's got the cheapest shoes. This is hurting everybody. And the brick and mortar is really going to suffer. I remember talking about this years ago when I was running a software company. And, we were talking about the brick and mortar businesses because our clients had brick and mortar, but they also had online. And the conundrum they had at that time is literally, should we build a website? Because what happens if everybody goes and buys there? Well, the answer is hopefully they'll still buy from you. But if you don't have the best price, you may not. That's the scary part. But you hope that they're going to come in, the people we were serving, people wanted to come in and see the product more than you just want to buy a pair of shoes, you want to buy a shirt. So that's where we are today. And folks, it's a Friday. I'm so positive on America. I'm so positive on what we can have and what we can be. I'm so positive on the possibilities, but I worry about what's going to occur next in America, because those people that are protesting right now in colleges are the kids that are coming getting jobs in the market if they don't find out who they are as far as employers. And they're going to be working in whatever. They may be working in a hamburger shop. They're standing in McDonald's and they decide they don't like the way they're treated. So they'll start a protest and make McDonald's pay them for a huge lawsuit. There's nothing that says they won't do it. Somebody has to step up and say, no, this isn't going to happen anymore. We can't have this. It has to stop. There's a line between free speech and dangerous. Just like when Joe Biden does a red line, when Obama did a red line, and they didn't stand up to that red line, you become weak. When businesses and governments say this is the red line and they don't stand up to it, they become more powerful than the governments and the businesses. And you have to have some controls. Businesses have to have the way they do business, and that's followed. And if employees don't want to follow that, they can move on. You're out of here. And the government, if it's foreign countries that you have to worry about, you have to put that red line down and not allow it to go past it. And there has to be somebody strong enough to make that happen. In my opinion, that's Donald Trump for president of the United States. That's what I say. That's what I believe. I believe that a good business person can make a huge difference in our government. And that's what Donald Trump is. So we've had it for today. We've looked at where we are. I appreciate the fact that you come into this show and you become part of us. And I need you to tell your friends and neighbors. Please like and follow, subscribe. We're going to build this show up. I keep trying to make improvements. Right now, I'm doing this show alone. It is amazing what it takes to get this show to go to be on the air and produce all the different slides that I do, the beginning parts, the music, everything that we do. It's a big job, and I enjoy doing it. I love doing this, but I want to build it up so I've got a producer to help us so we can do even more. And I said yesterday, and I wanted to remind people today, my goal is to get large enough audience that we'll be able to go to the election on election night. We're going to have a show from an hour or two before the show and carry through the election results. I want to do that. And I want to have people in the studio, and I want to bring some people in that are my regular viewers and bring them into the show also on screen. And we talk about stuff because it's important to do it, and it'll be fun. So I hope it'll be fun. But I have goals, and I want to build this up. So thank you so much for being here today. I hope you have an awesome weekend. I hope that everything that happens for you this weekend is great. Your weather's good. You can go out and have a great spring day for Saturday and Sunday. Have a good one. We'll see you Monday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time. Please join me. We'll see you then.
Thanks for your support. Join the Framers View Monday through Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern.